Here in the Philippines, one of the least known compact crossover contenders is the SsangYong Korando. In fact, a quick Google search of the Korando will net you only a few local car reviews, and most of them are for the top spec Korando Premium. Now what we have here is the middle spec Korando, which is aptly called the SsangYong Korando 1.6 liter automatic mid-spec. And in this video, we are going to give it the 15 to 20 minutes of internet fame that it deserves. Let's do this. Hello guys, I'm Reagan and welcome back to another car review. If you're new to my channel, I want you to click that subscribe button for your regular dose of Philippine automotive content. If you're my subscriber already, well, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. But first, click that like button. Also, special thanks to SsangYong Philippines for lending me the SsangYong Korando mid-spec for 1 week to do this review. If the compact crossover segment didn't have any Chinese contenders, well then this SsangYong Korando would have been a powerful contender. You see, it comes equipped with a decent set of tech and features, and it's also powered by a turbo diesel engine. However, the sad reality for the SsangYong Korando is that more and more compact crossovers are making their way from China and into the Philippines, and as such, well, the asking price of this SsangYong Korando mid-spec suddenly became unattractive. You see, the retail price of the SsangYong Korando 1.6 liter automatic mid is 1,578,000 Philippine pesos, making it more expensive than all of the compact crossovers coming in from China. However, what if I tell you that SsangYong Philippines is currently, at the time of this filming, offering some pretty hefty discounts on the SsangYong Korando? In fact, this SsangYong Korando mid-spec can be purchased with a 400,000 Philippine peso cash discount. Eh? Now, this vehicle suddenly became even more interesting. You see, with that 400,000 peso cash discount, you're looking at a compact crossover that is powered by a turbo diesel motor, and it's priced at the same level as most gasoline-powered compact crossovers from China. And yeah, in case you guys will be asking me in the comments, I'm going to set the record straight right now. You see, SsangYong Motor is no longer bankrupt. They've now been saved and they now have a new owner. And in fact, they're currently developing their first EV vehicle, which is soon to launch, well, pretty soon. So now that that's out of the way, it's time for us to take a closer look at this SsangYong Korando mid-spec. When it comes to looks, the Korando delivers. You see, it doesn't follow that big-ass front grille phenomenon that's been going on with a bunch of compact crossovers in this segment, but rather retains a more classic approach to its front fascia styling, with the front grille separate from the opening of the front bumper. Now, the Korando also comes with this wide and low hood here, giving it more of a lifted station wagon look rather than that of a crossover or an SUV. Now, when it comes to the lighting duties of this thing, well, it comes with a set of halogen headlights in a projector-style housing here, but it still gets LED DRLs and LED fog lights. Now, when you see all of those things together, all of those lights turned on, guys, yeah, it kind of throws me off, and I'd rather get an all LED headlight affair here. But unfortunately, well, that's only reserved for the top spec Korando Premium. Here on the side, the SsangYong Korando looks noticeably lower than most other compact crossovers in the segment. Now it gets a semi-floating roof design here towards the C-pillar, and if you look at the side mirrors, well, we get power folding side mirrors here with LED turn signals. Plus, if you look in the inner part of the side mirror housing, well, we get 3 horizontal slats here that are meant to reduce the aerodynamic noise when you're traveling at highway speeds. Now, I did get to take this Korando out on the highway, and I can attest to that, yeah, those thingamajigs actually work. Now, when it comes to the doors of the Korando, well, I love that the doors are on the hefty side. They are quite heavy, guys. And when you close them, they give a really satisfying thud that you normally find from vehicles being offered by European brands. Now, when you turn your attention to the wheels of the Korando, well, we get smaller 17-inch alloy wheels here on this mid-spec trim. The top-spec Korando Premium gets 18-inch alloys, but this mid-specs 17s are wrapped in 225/60 R17 Kumho tires. Now, behind those wheels, we get 4-wheel disc brakes, and for the suspension, well, the Korando delivers with a set of MacPhersons up front and an independent multi-link rear suspension, well, at the back. Now, the ground clearance of the Korando is a bit on the lower side because it only stands at 172 millimeters. Now, that kind of supports what I said a while back, that the Korando looks more like a lifted station wagon rather than that of a crossover or an SUV. My most favorite part when it comes to the exterior design of the Korando is the rear end. You see, it gets a wide and squat rear end here, plus just enough embellishments to make anybody behind it take a second look and say, whoa, what the hell is that car? I mean, it looks kind of cool. I mean, guys, this is just my opinion, but I really love the design of this rear end. You see, it gets the standard rear spoiler here, but it also comes with an integrated ducktail spoiler here on your liftgate that goes well with that rear spoiler on top on the roof. Now, when you pair that with this aluminum center garnish here that connects the LED taillights together, well, you've got a really interesting looking rear end. Now, speaking of interesting, guys, check out the LED taillights of this thing. I mean, this has got to be one of the most gorgeous, if not the most gorgeous LED taillight designs that I've seen in any of the cars that I've reviewed. Now, when you go down further from there, well, things get a little bit busier. We get a pair of rear fog lights here. Plus, when you go down to the center of the rear bumper, guys, you see a design feature that looks like a rear skid plate, and it also looks like a rear diffuser. So, yeah, it's like the designers of the Korando couldn't make up their mind whether to give it a skid plate or a diffuser. So, yeah, they decided to give it both. Now, when you pop open the manual liftgate of this thing, you'll see one of the disappointments that I have with the SsangYong Korando. You see, this compact crossover has one of the smallest trunk spaces that I've seen in the category. With only 407 liters of cargo space, well, the SsangYong Korando can only accommodate one medium-sized luggage here, as you can see, and probably a smaller hand carrier luggage beside it. Now, another thing I noticed with this trunk space is that the trunk lip is kind of on the high side, so you'll have to use a little bit more muscle if you're lifting heavy stuff into this trunk. And the reason for this higher lip is because we have an actual spare tire found right there. Now, if you need more space than what 407 liters will give you, well, the good news though is the back seats of the Korando can fold flat, and that should give you over 1,200 liters of cargo capacity. Now, if there's one advantage of the SsangYong Korando over its competitors from China, well, it can be found underneath the hood. You see, what we have here is the same diesel engine that is powering the smaller SsangYong Tivoli, and that is a 1.6-liter 4-cylinder turbo diesel motor that puts out 134 horsepower and 324 Newton meters of torque. Now, all of that power is sent to the front wheels via a 6-speed automatic transmission sourced from Aisin. Now, you know that transmission from Aisin is a dependable transmission because, well, fun fact, guys, Aisin is owned by Toyota. So, yeah, now you know. Now, guys, another hallmark of a turbo diesel engine in a compact crossover is its frugal fuel economy. Now, I got to test that out in the full week that I've been driving this thing because, yeah, in a city drive, guys, I was able to get 13.8 kilometers per liter at an average speed of 29 kilometers per hour. Now, when I took the Korando out on the highway, I was able to get 17.8 kilometers per liter at an average speed of 68 kilometers per hour. Now, both of those fuel economy runs were done with a full load of 5 passengers, and we also had a large balikbayan box in the cargo area. So yes, this SsangYong Korando Turbo Diesel is one of the most frugal compact crossovers in its price category in the Philippines today. The cockpit of the SsangYong Korando mid-spec is a bit on the basic side, but it does offer you the right amount of convenience features to make your daily drive comfortable. Now, the seats of this thing is wrapped in fabric and we don't get any power adjustments here, guys, but I must say that these seats are really comfortable and they do give a good amount of support and bolstering. Now, when you turn your attention to the steering wheel, well, we do get a leather-wrapped steering wheel here with a perforated leather finish in the areas where you normally hold the wheel, which is the 9 and 3 or 10 and 2 o'clock positions. And we also have a pair of paddle shifters behind the wheel. Now, the steering wheel also adjusts for tilt, and it also telescopes, so that's pretty good. Plus, we also have the buttons here to control your standard cruise control. Now, when it comes to the safety bits of this SsangYong Korando mid-spec, well, as you can see on your screen, it's a bit on the wanting side, guys. It's really basic, and I'm quite surprised to see that we only get dual airbags in this mid-spec SsangYong Korando. You see, dual airbags is something that I normally see in vehicles that are priced below 1,000,000 Philippine pesos. So considering that even after the discount, this Korando is priced above 1,000,000 pesos, yeah, we should get more airbags than those set of dual airbags right there. But it is what it is. It is what we get in the Korando. So yeah, there's that. Now, another bit of a bummer here, which I found kind of weird, is that we only get an actual key in this mid-spec Korando. So that means, yeah, we don't get an engine push start button and we don't get a smart key fob for more convenience. So yeah, this just shows the age of this SsangYong Korando mid-spec. Now, when you turn your attention to the gauge cluster here, well, we do get a nicely designed analog gauge cluster, analog tach and speedo, and we have a tiny MOTA information display in the middle for your vital vehicle information. Now, when you go over to the infotainment system of this thing, well, we get an 8-inch touchscreen here that has been neatly integrated into the middle dashboard. And I like that about this SsangYong Korando. Now, I also like that we get physical knobs and buttons here for your basic infotainment system functions. Plus, we also have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and the image of a reverse camera. Now, that reverse camera image kind of surprised me because when I checked out the brochure of this mid-spec Korando, well, SsangYong Philippines hasn't put that reverse camera feature there. But I am not complaining, guys. I love the fact that we get a reverse camera right here, and it's also quite usable. Now, when you go over to the climate control system, well, we have a manual climate control setup here. It's not really a big issue for me, guys. But when you go down further, you'll see that the shifter here, that the shift knob that SsangYong used for the Korando, yeah, it's kind of weird. Well, at least for me. You see, we don't get a leather shift knob here, but rather we get a shift knob made of plastic. And it's not just any kind of plastic, guys. This is a glossy piano black plastic here. So yes, you can see some of the fingerprints and some of the micro scratches there already. Now, it's functional and it does the job, but yeah, I would have gone with a leather shift knob right here. I mean, this is something that you always touch inside the vehicle. Now, when you look beside the shifter here, we have here a drive mode button. Well, the SsangYong Korando comes with 3 drive modes. You've got the normal mode, the sport mode, and the winter mode if you need more traction. We also have here a manual handbrake, not really a big issue. And we also have a leather padded center armrest that also comes with a cubby right there. Now, we also have a couple of cup holders here, guys, which I will subject to my clean canteen tests. So let's see, this is my 600 ml clean canteen, and the cup holders of the SsangYong Korando passes my clean canteen test. It's very good. Now, when you look at the cabin materials of the SsangYong Korando, well, we are mostly surrounded by plastics here. We have a soft touch plastics on the top of the dashboard and the top of the door cards. And we also have that glossy piano black plastic finish on the middle part of the dashboard. It's like a huge expanse right there. And speaking of glossy piano black plastics, yeah, we get a bunch of that here in this cabin. We get that in the climate control area, in the center tunnel, on the inserts of the door cards, and even that shift knob, that piano black finish on the shift knob. Now, all of these glossy piano black plastics makes this cabin look a bit more premium, but as I said, guys, yeah, it's going to attract a lot of like dust and fingerprints and scratches in no time. Now, it's the cabin itself is a pretty basic and functional cabin, guys, although it is showing a little bit more of its age because, yeah, the cabin itself is looks and feels a bit dated already. The back seat of the Korando is comfortable and spacious. It's wide enough such that you can fit 3 average adults here at the back and all of them will remain comfortable. Now, I'm 5'6", guys, and this is my driving position here, and I get a whopping 9 inches of knee room here and a good like 6 to 7 inches of headroom. However, guys, when it comes to the amenities, you see the Korando's age will come to show because we only get a 12-volt outlet found here. We don't get rear AC vents, we don't get USB charge ports, heck, we don't even get a center armrest. Alright guys, so we're now driving the SsangYong Korando mid-spec automatic, and first up, visibility. Well, I kind of expected that the visibility of this thing will be a bit compromised because it's pretty low and yeah, it's kind of wide, guys, but that's not really the case. You see, I got a nice wide expanse of windshield in front of me, and I like the fact that the hood and the dashboard is mounted pretty low. The thing is, well, that hood is a bit on the long and wide side, guys, so care must be taken whenever you're driving this thing just to avoid any fender bender. Just make sure that you know where that hood ends. As for the steering feel of the Korando, well, it is a bit hefty, slightly on the heavier side, guys. So if you've got like weak and sissy arms, you might find this a little bit tiring for yourself. Well, you do know that SsangYong is known as a diesel truck maker, so yes, there is that heft built into the steering feel of the Korando. Now, having said that though, guys, it doesn't mean that this thing will give you a workout every time you're driving this thing, because that's not really the case. It's just a slightly bit on the heftier side. It kind of simulates that of like a hydraulic power assist system, which I like. I personally prefer that, guys, because yeah, it makes me feel more connected to the car. Now, the response itself is pretty good, as you can see. Whoa, see? Yeah, so the response is pretty good, and the steering is also on the sharper side. So that's one of the biggest advantages of the SsangYong Korando, and that is the steering feel. I mean, I'm loving the steering feel of this thing in the week that I've been driving it. As for the NVH and the cabin's comfort, well, this Korando is on the comfortable side, and it's quiet even if it has a diesel engine. Now, we're on the highway right now, guys, as you can see, and you don't hear the diesel noise coming from this thing. You see, the only time you get to hear it is when I put the throttle down, see? And then that's when you can hear it, and when you hear that diesel noise, it's not really intrusive, guys. In fact, it just sounds like any regular internal combustion engine. It doesn't even sound like a diesel engine, guys. Now, that's one of the things that I like about this. It doesn't sound too noisy. Not as noisy as, let's say, some of the 7-seater pickup-based SUVs out there. Now, let me toggle it to sport mode, guys. There you go. We're now in sport mode. And if I use the paddles to shift, the paddles are quite responsive. And yes, oh boy, yeah, This Korando is one of the better, better cars to drive, one of the better crossovers to drive. And I'm sure you guys can't tell it, but yeah, I have to throttle back now because I am going at, I'm just crossing the speed limit there. So yeah, we have to throttle back down a little bit. Apply the brakes. And speaking of the brakes, guys, well, the brake feel of this thing is also pretty fantastic. I mean, yeah, you know, SsangYong, it's not really a household name here in the Philippines, but SsangYong knows a thing or two about making good driving cars. And I can understand why the local distributor here in the Philippines, Berjaya Auto, decided to take on the brand of SsangYong along with Mazda. Because yes, SsangYong, for a diesel vehicle, for a diesel car maker, they make some pretty decent cars, guys. Now, if you want more proof that this SsangYong Korando is really a driver's vehicle, well, let's move over to the handling and suspension of this thing. I mean, we're just riding on 17-inch alloy wheels. These are smaller wheels than the top spec variant. The top spec Korando gets 18-inch alloys. But yeah, guys, the handling of this thing, it's spot on. I mean, it doesn't lean too much in the corners. And you guys know that I love to really test out the handling of these cars since I drive a Mazda Miata. And I was quite surprised that for a crossover, this thing handles really, really well. Body lean is minimized. We got a sharp turn in around the corners, guys. And it gives you so much confidence when you're taking corners at a fast clip. If there's one thing that I love about those smaller wheels is, well, the ride is really comfortable in this Korando. I mean, granted we are on the highway now and there's really no potholes here, but I've gone through some city streets with potholes. And yes, the sound of the potholes will make its way into the cabin, but it doesn't crash. It doesn't feel crashy. And it just absorbs the bumps pretty well. Overall, guys, this SsangYong Korando mid-spec delivers in most of the right places. It's got a comfortable drive, it feels well built, and it has a solid level of driving feel. I mean, pair that with the frugality of its diesel engine, and you've got a pretty compelling daily driving diesel compact crossover in the SsangYong Korando mid-spec. The SsangYong Korando mid-spec may not have all of the bells and whistles and the tech features that the compact crossovers from China are offering, but for some people, less is actually more. You see, the Korando offers just the right amount of features to make your daily drive convenient, and it also gives you a dependable and frugal drive every time you get behind the wheel. Now, when you put that together with that hefty 400,000 peso cash discount that SsangYong Philippines is giving for the mid-spec Korando, well, at the time of this filming, guys, well, what you have here is the most affordable diesel-powered compact crossover in its category today. Now, at this point, I am going to repeat what I said at the start of the video, and that is that SsangYong Motor is no longer bankrupt. They've been saved from bankruptcy. They have a new owner called Edison who makes electric vehicles. And in fact, yes, SsangYong Motor is about to launch, or probably has already launched at the time of this publication, their first ever electric vehicle, which they call the Korando eMotion. Now, that is one Korando that I would love to review and feature in my channel. So here's to hoping that SsangYong Philippines will bring in the Korando eMotion the moment that it becomes available. But until then, guys, well, if you want a dependable and frugal drive, well, you can't go wrong with the SsangYong Korando Automatic mid-spec. Thanks for watching.